What's up, Titans fans? It's your boy CD back again with another episode of TitanUp Today. On today's show, we'll do a quick final wrap up of what the Broncos Titans game looked like on Monday night, as well as what's our division look like now after week one. Now that our rivals have played all their games, how do we stand in our division, the conference, and moving forward, what our division looks like. But no need to delay. Let's get down to it. All right, you guys. So after watching the game for the second time, I can tell you that watching it, knowing what the result is going to be, is a lot less stressful than it was watching it on Monday night live, for sure. But nonetheless, I can say, taking away watching it a second time, we still played pretty bad overall. We got away with the win, escaped, right, with the dub, but there's a lot to take away from this game, positive as well as negative. Starting off with the negative, I feel like we had a lot of miscues. We'll go ahead and just call it preseason type stuff, getting our timing down, penalties, just basic miscues, whatever, on offense as well as defense. I think our defense played pretty sound all the way around. Definitely got a little bit tired. You can see Clowney, he was very tired after like the first quarter. He was already ready to take a break. He did play a ton of snaps though, so hopefully his conditioning is up to peak in the next couple weeks, but we'll see. On the positive side, I will say this. I looked at the stat line, and we'll go through the stats here in a second, but looking at the stat line, the individual stats, I was upset. I'm like, how did Ryan Tannehill throw the ball so many times? Ryan Tannehill had, what, he was 29 for 43? I'm like, 43 attempts. That's a lot. That's not our game plan at all, right? So why did we throw so much? And I stopped and looked and said, well, wait a second. Derrick Henry had over 100 yards rushing, but he rushed, his average was bad. So how did he get so many rushing yards? Well, he carried the ball 31 times. 31 times for 116 yards, no touchdown, but an average of 3.7 yards a carry. Just, I would say, subpar for NFL. You're looking for about 4 yards or better. But he ran the ball 31 times. So we ran a total of 78 plays total on offense. We had the ball. Time of possession was a little bit different. We had, I think, time of possession was 32 minutes to 27 minutes. So there was a little bit difference there. But in the third quarter, we had, I believe, 12 minutes of time possession out of the 15 minutes in the third quarter to score 0 points, which obviously we can go back to field goal kicking, which was abysmal. It was absolutely horrible. But we made the last field goal, which is the one that actually counted to win the game. Nonetheless, here's the rest of the stat line. Ryan Tannehill actually ran 3 times for 14 yards. Tennessee receiving, Corey Davis. I know you guys have heard this name a ton of times on here alone. You're going to hear it a lot more now in national news as they're going to realize again that Corey Davis was drafted number 5 overall a few years back and that he is our number 1 wide receiver. He is by far the best wide receiver we have. A.J. Brown had a amazing rookie outbreak. Amazing. But he's not the number 1 wide receiver for the Titans. Great wide receiver, but he's not the number 1 wide receiver. Nonetheless, Corey Davis' stat line, 7 catches, 101 receiving yards, no touchdown, but he did get 8 targets. You'll notice here too, Adam Humphries had 6 catches of his 7 targets for 47 yards, a lot of first downs, and he averaged 7.8 yards per reception. A.J. Brown, 5 receptions, 39 yards. He had 8 targets, the same amount of targets as Corey Davis. 5 of them were brought in. If you recall, to that touchdown that could have been with the little alligator arms that he put at the end, Ryan Tannehill took it, put it on his shoulders and said, hey, it was a bad throw. After looking at it, I think that he could have caught that ball. I don't know if he lays out. I don't know if he just was thinking too much about the sideline or whatever, but he could have brought that in for a touchdown, and we don't even have to look at Gostkowski. But the positive of Gostkowski kicking that field goal is that hopefully he has a little bit of confidence going in to week 2. All right, so Jonnu Smith, I was hoping for more of a breakout. They used him all over the place. They even had him in the backfield for a snap. But he had 4 catches, 36 yards, and he did have that touchdown on that 4th down. Left him wide open. A little bit of confusion for the defense, but it worked out. Derrick Henry caught 3 balls for 15 yards on those 3 targets. And you had Blazing Game as well, had a catch for 5 yards. Anthony Fursker had 2 catches for 5 yards, and Michael Pruitt had 1 catch for 1 yard. Nonetheless, so moving on to defense, the defensive squad played sound, but defense is one of those, when you look at the box score, it just doesn't jump out. Jeffrey Simmons would be the perfect example. The box score shows him with 4 tackles total, 3 solo, right? Nothing else in the box score besides his fumble recovery. But overall, he was everywhere. Massive stops all over the place. By far, the best defensive player that we had on the field, even though Clowney is now one of our highest players, whatever, on the field. Clowney, although tired, put in a lot of work. He had one quarterback hit on the game. He did have 3 tackles on my total tackles on the game, but it seemed like he was in the backfield. There was a couple plays where he lost contain and came in a little bit tight and let the quarterback get outside, or even the running back at times get around him. But again, conditioning and trying to get back into the scheme of things after not having a preseason and not really practicing with the team until when, like Wednesday, Thursday was the first time he even stepped foot in the facility. So not too bad. The rest of the stat line, you have Kevin Byard had 9 tackles. He ended up leading the team in tackles, 1 pass deflection as well. Kenny Vaccaro had 6 tackles, 1 for a loss. Jayon Brown had 5 tackles. 2 of those were solos, 1 tackle for a loss. Harold Landry, another great game. There was one play where Drew Lock, I think it was a big crucial third down. Drew Lock is throwing the ball out to Jerry Jeudy on the right-hand side and can't finish it up, can't finish and follow through on his pass as Harold Landry was in his face. He had 2 quarterback hits on the game, no sacks, but 1 tackle for a loss. Overall, Christian Fulton, my breakout, bold prediction, we'll talk about that later in the week, but he had 4 tackles, had to step up and play a lot more downs than expected. Obviously, Adoree Jackson going on the IR before kickoff, and even we lost Joseph for a couple plays before half with an arm injury. So he had to step up. He played all right. I'll again go back and tell you, Jerry Jeudy is a beast. So every time that Fulton was on him, it seemed like he couldn't keep up with them. But in theory, or just overall, I believe that the rookie had a good game. He was solid. He was all over the place. So as a team, though, because individual stats are always good, as a team, the big stats that jump off the table for me are third down efficiency. Obviously, we were 7 for 16. I like to see that number, better than where it's at. Obviously, 50% is sound. We're a little bit over 50%. But fourth down efficiency, we only had 1 attempt, and we scored a touchdown in that 1 attempt. That was big. Also, again, total plays. We had 78 total plays as an offense. Time of possession was 32. No turnovers. Won the turnover battle, and now our turnover differential is at a +1, which is good. -1, which is always good. So just in general, overall, I think a sound game for the Titans. It was a little bit sloppy at times. Field goal kicking, if we make the field goals that I believe that we should have, even if he missed the 47-yard field goal wide right or whatever, we can deal with that. But even if he makes the 2 field goals and the extra point, this game is not really as close as it looks and doesn't seem as sloppy as it actually was. But the passing attack is something that everyone right now should be very happy with, and the rest of the league should be weary of, because whenever we have 22 in the backfield running the way we know that he can, along with the wide receivers and tight ends and all these weapons that we have in the passing game, I think this offense, when we get it all dialed in, could be at a high level, and I see a lot of points in our future, definitely. But let's go ahead and move on. Now that week 1 is completely done, the book is closed. We're opening it up to week 2. We have the Jacksonville Jaguars this week, but let's see, what did week 1 look like for the rest of the division? But before we jump straight into the division, this is what the conference standings look like after week 1. So obviously there's not much to work with here. Everybody's either 1-0 or 0-1. But right now, based off of everything, because we get the conference win, it puts us in 7th place currently. And now we'll move on to the division standings. As you can see here, the Jags are technically in 1st place. And we're in 2nd place. The Jags are in 1st place only because that win that they had against the Colts was actually a division win. and not just an AFC win like ours. Obviously, it's really early in the season, so a lot of this stuff is going to change significantly. I doubt that the Jags even linger around towards the end of the season, but at this point in time, they are number one, so we'll show them respect. We got them this week, so we'll see how long that lasts. All right, so here's the Jags. As you can see, week one, the final score against the Colts, 20-27, and definitely an upset victory. But the Jaguars did pull it out, so they get that. Week two, they have the Tennessee Titans. They get to play us on the road. They'll have to travel to Nashville to play us. No fans in the stadium, but the home field advantage is there whenever you have home cooking at your own place. So they'll be playing us. Kickoff is at 1:00 p.m. The Houston Texans had the early game. They played on Thursday. As you can see again, 20-34 was the loss as they played the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. Week two, they have the Ravens in a tough game. Playing the Ravens in general is a tough game. They will get a little bit of an advantage as they get to play at home in Houston. Moving on to the Colts. The Colts, again, played the Jaguars. They did lose to the Jaguars. Phillip Rivers did not look good at all. He looked old at times. It was making bad decisions. You're expecting him to be a wily vet and make all the good decisions. He was not. They did lose their running back as well, Marlon Mack, for the season. The rookie Jonathan Taylor now has the helm with Naheem Hines as well backing up. Those guys, they have a good running attack. The offensive line is good, but if Phillip Rivers cannot do something with the ball, this team is going to go towards the bottom with the Jaguars, I believe, towards the end of the season. Nonetheless, this week, they get the opportunity to redeem themselves after that upset loss to the Jaguars as they play the Vikings at home. This right here, this game is significant for the Colts specifically. The Minnesota Vikings just coming off a loss as well. The Vikings are a good team. They lost to a really good team in the Green Bay Packers. Like I told you guys before, I have them slated to go to the Super Bowl, the Green Bay Packers. So they lost to a really good team in the Green Bay Packers. But nonetheless, they lose this game. That puts them 0-2 in the division and a very large hill for them to climb moving forward. So expect this to be a really good game all the way around, as both these teams cannot go down 0-2 and expect to do big things moving forward. And now the Tennessee Titans. As you can see, we won our game again in a escape type victory against the Broncos on Monday night. But again, it's a dub. It's a win. We're 1-0 and tied for first right now, technically second in standings right now. But week two, Jaguars visit Nashville, and they will have to earn the right to stay atop the number one standings in the AFC South. The game kicks off at 1:00 East Coast time. We did lose one day because we played on Monday night. We only have 6 days of preparation versus the Jaguars have 7. I think that this should be a good game. Just all in all, it's a division rivalry game. We tend to have the Jags number. These games also tend to be on Thursday night for the most part, but not this time. And not to sneak too far ahead here, obviously the Jaguars, week 2 is where we're at, but we do have these Minnesota Vikings, Steelers, Bills, and Texans moving forward. The season, hopefully this is more like the preseason, week 1 and week 2, because we need to make sure all of our ducks are in a row moving forward, as the Vikings, Steelers, Bills, and Texans are all playoff type teams that can definitely put points up on the board and have good defenses. But nonetheless, we're in week 2. Jacksonville Jaguars have to come to us in Nashville. We'll be ready. Vrabel and the boys, I know they will be ready. But that wraps up this episode of TitanUp Today. Join me tomorrow as we preview the Jacksonville Jaguars at Tennessee Titans as we play this coming Sunday. So if you like this episode and you want more of it, click the like button, subscribe to the channel, even hit that notifications bell so whenever I upload tomorrow's video, you get a little notification. It'll let you know to come check it out. But that's it. But before you leave, one question. Why tighten up tomorrow when you can tighten up today?